Hi, I'm Dave Rogers, a combat veteran, and welcome to Cooking with a Veteran. All right, welcome. Thank you for joining me again today. As I spoke to you before, I'm going to talk today about pasta bolognese. A lot of people are used to spaghetti bolognese, but I'm going to use bow tie pasta. I like the smaller pastas myself. So before I get into today's lesson, I want to talk to you about something that's very important when it comes to cooking. A lot of people who know me know that I don't own a television, but I figured, if I'm going to have a cooking channel, I should go online and check out some of these cooking shows. And what I found is one of the most important things about cooking on television is a chef's jacket. They give you one when you come on the show, and when they kick you off the show, they take it back. But being that I am not a professional chef, I'm just a veteran who loves to cook, we don't need it. So let's get into our lesson today. As before, what I told you is I like to prepare everything and get everything set up before I cook. It makes it a lot easier to cook. You're not scrambling around. You're not worried about if the water's boiling over or if your meat is burning, because everything's prepped out. So our ingredients for today, of course, we have our pasta, which I cooked al dente. And what al dente means is you don't cook it 100%. You leave it a little bit chewy onto the teeth because you're going to recook it when you put it in with the sauce and the meat. Okay? We have some shredded carrot, and I just used orange carrot. However, sometimes I'll mix it up. I'll get the pack of the variety carrots, and it gives a nice little flavor to it. I have some diced tomatoes here. I have my onions. I have some homemade pasta sauce, and in another episode I'll talk to you about making your own pasta sauce and what that entails. I have my meat. Now, when I buy the meat, I like to buy the meatloaf package, which is basically 3 different types of meat. It includes a beef, a pork, and a lamb inside of it. And it's that different types of meat that give it a nice consistency throughout. I'm going to go through another broth today. And of course, I have my seasonings. And I like to spice it up. So I got a little Tabasco. You can use hot sauce or whatever, Frank's, whatever you like. I'm going to add a little Worcestershire sauce. And I have my salt, my peppers, and my olive oil. So since everything else is prepped, we're going to go in and we're going to go ahead and start putting together. We're going to add our carrots. Okay, I already have my garlic in here, some fresh garlic. All right, I'm going to add my onions. I'm going to add my tomatoes. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on the oven and get it started. Okay, once again, like last time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat up the onions. I'm going to heat up the carrots and the tomatoes. Now I have my olive oil in there. Okay, I have my fresh garlic in there. And I'm going to mix this all around. And I'm going to get this brown. Okay, so we'll check back in on this in a minute. And we'll go ahead and we'll prepare our meat and we'll make our broth for our spaghetti bolognese. Okay, like I said before, I have my 3 different types of meat here. I'm actually not going to use all this meat because I'm just cooking for myself. I am, however, going to save some aside so that I can make some meatballs for later on. But I'll go ahead and I'll season it now. I got my seasoning here, a little salt, pepper, some oregano, some parsley, a little rosemary, okay, and a little bit of chili powder. Like I said, I like my meat and I like my pasta dishes a little spicy, so I add a little bit of chili powder. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix this in. And when you're dealing with chopped meat, it's best to really just do this by hand, okay, and just kind of get it all in there. Doing it with a spoon just doesn't do it. Some people use mixers, and that's fine. I really like to get my hands in there and get it going. All right, so we got our seasoning and our meat. Like I said, I'm going to save half of this aside for later on. I'm going to make some meatballs. Okay, so like I said, we're going to make some more broth for this meal, and we're going to include it into our spaghetti sauce to give it just a little bit of a nice flavor. Starting again, I have a little bit of my vegetable stock. I'm going to add a little bit of the water that I use for cooking the pasta. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of Guinness. And I love some Guinness. Okay. Touch of Westchester sauce. And some Tabasco. And again, these are options. You don't have to add this into your spaghetti bolognese. I've seen people use like a cream type of sauce to go into it. I've seen people add nothing into it, but this is just another option when you're cooking up your meat. Okay. All right, so as you can see, I got my onions, my tomatoes, and my carrots going here. Okay. At this time, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take some of my meat that I'm going to use for this dish, and I'm going to add it in. Okay. And I'm going to start browning that. Okay, so I'm browning up my meat. This is a dish that I actually learned from a British woman that I knew while I was stationed in Germany with the headquarters 5th Corps. And you'll notice that last time I talked about a friend taught me how to cook something. My grandmother taught me something about cooking. Now I'm talking about a woman friend that I had while I was stationed over in Germany. And you'll notice that I don't talk about my mother's cooking. And don't get me wrong, I love my mother, God rest her soul. But my mother was a terrible cook. And anybody who knew her knew she was a terrible cook. We were barbecuing one time in my grandmother's house in Queens, and she had this slanted driveway, and my mother put the grill the wrong way, and when she put the hot dogs on, they went rolling off the grill down the driveway. And so the standing joke in my house was that my mother's cooking was so bad that the food would actually run away. Sorry, Mom. And that's actually one of the reasons why I learned how to cook in the first place, was my grandmother, when I was 10, took me into the kitchen and said, you know, all of you Rogers men, you meet women like your mother, and if you don't learn how to cook, you're going to starve to death. So I went ahead and I learned how to cook so that I wouldn't starve to death. Again, sorry, Mom. Okay, now that our meat is nice and cooked, okay, and it's still got a little bit of sauce in there. You can see the onions and the tomato. I'm going to go ahead at this time and I'm going to add my pasta, my homemade pasta sauce. And when I make my pasta sauce, what I like to do is I like to make a big pot of it, because pasta sauce is something that you can freeze and thaw out later. So you can make as much as you want, and you can freeze them in meal-sized portions and then just thaw them out later. All right, so that's set in there, and what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to turn it on low, and I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes and let it really cook in there. Okay, while the sauce is cooking over there, like I said, I'm going to take some of the meat, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make meatballs with them. So I have my mixture of meat here. I put a little bit of fresh garlic on there, a little bit of fresh parsley. I'm going to add a little bit of breadcrumb, but also some grated cheese to be like a kind of binding agent in there. Okay. I've already added my seasoning, my salt and my pepper. You saw that before. And again, you're going to use your hands, okay? Make sure you wash your hands in between, all right? And you're going to first mix it all up. And then I'm going to take some, about a palm full. I'm going to kind of back and forth, making a fist, kind of, not a full fist, but just a fist, and then just kind of roll it up, and I'm going to place it in a bowl. And even though I'm making these tonight, what's great is, like the pasta sauce, you can freeze these. Okay, so I'll put them in individual Ziploc freezer bags, and I'll freeze them up into meal portion sizes so that I could take them out later and then just heat them up and cook them up as I need them. Okay, so my meatballs are all made up. Inside this bigger gallon-sized bag, I have 4 little bags, and each bag has 3 meatballs in it. So that's 4 meals. And the pasta sauce that I cooked today, that's enough for 3 meals. So basically, out of 1 pack of meat, I'm able to get 7 meals out of it. And there's a way to save you some money and also be able to use your meat in different ways. Okay, as you can see, the sauce is nicely cooked. Okay, it's mixed in with the meat. And at this time now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my pasta. Okay, so I just poured my pasta in. I'm mixing it around. You know, I like shells and bow ties. I do like spaghetti, but being that I have a beard, I don't always like slurping it up, and I'm constantly washing my beard out. But the pasta is your choice. Whatever pasta you want to use, they all work equally well with this type of dish. Okay, so the meal is cooked, and once again, it comes down to tasting. What's great about this meal is it doesn't take a long time to cook. You know, you can prep a lot of the things that you need to prep while you're cooking the pasta. And then from there, it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes from that point to finish out your dish. And again, you can do it all in one pot, which is really good. So let's go ahead and let's give it a taste. Let's see how it turned out. Amazing pasta bolognese. Next time, I'm going to teach you how to cook my famous 3 cheese macaroni and cheese. Until then, hoorah.